So the last time we saw Rob Stewart, he was talking to us about sharks. And I think it was because of your interest in sharks that you came to understand that sharks were merely a metaphor for a much larger issue.
Yes.
Okay, there is a little delay. So, Rob, why don't you just turn towards the audience and tell them what's currently on your mind?
Hi. I'm really honored to have a bit of your time and to be able to tell you a little story that I have. This is a little story, but it's also the biggest story I know about. And this story starts when I was just a little kid. Chubby, stuttering, and awkward. The regular world was kind of strange to me. But when I went underwater I could fly. And underwater, I had a three-dimensional world full of crazy animals and beautiful species and 5 times the evolution that exists on land. And underwater was the most amazing world for me, except I was afraid of sharks. And so I was always hesitant. I wouldn't swim out as far as I wanted to. I wouldn't swim down as far as I wanted to. Until one day when I was 9, I met a shark. And that shark was afraid of me, which changed everything. All of a sudden, I had the whole oceans to explore. And what was taught to me was kind of proven that maybe all the things we're supposed to be afraid of, we don't have to be afraid of. And so I became a biologist and an underwater photographer. And I ended up on an incredible journey into the life of sharks and how we've kind of changed ecosystems we depend on for survival. When I was 20, I took a photo assignment to the Galapagos Islands in Ecuador, the most exciting photo assignment ever, to photograph my favorite species on Earth, hammerhead sharks. But instead of finding sharks in all their majesty underwater, I found a fishing line that was stretched from Earth to outer space with thousands of baited hooks and hundreds of dead and dying sharks. Sharks are being killed in the most protected marine reserve on Earth. Shark populations dropped 90% in 30 years. We were killing 100 million sharks a year, and nobody noticed. So I figured something had to be done. We couldn't wipe out the longest lasting, most important predator the planet has and not notice and not care. So when I was 22, I set out to make a film that I hoped would bring audiences into a new relationship with sharks, to show sharks through my eyes. Because the reality, as you heard a few minutes ago, sharks don't kill that many people at all. You're more likely to be killed by a vending machine than you are to be killed by a shark. You're more likely to accidentally suffocate in your sleep by 10 times than you are to be killed by a shark. So I figured if I could show the public this, then maybe they'd want to fight for sharks' protection like they fight for pandas and elephants and bears. And so with no film experience whatsoever, with 2 buddies and a credit card, I set out to make a film called Shark Water. And I think we can advance. Oh, not yet. Please excuse my technology here. So Shark Water became a mission that took us 4 years and 12 countries. And we ended up, as you'll see in a few moments, into a mission of life and death and espionage and machine guns and mafia rings, all because of how much money there was in the shark fin industry. Because shark fins is an Asian delicacy and served as a sign of respect, people started finning sharks, where they'd pull sharks out of the water, cut off just their fins, and throw the rest of the body back, wasting 95+% of the animal, contributing to humans wasting 54 billion pounds of fish every year as bycatch, fish we don't want and we throw back, while 10 million people die of starvation every year. So this practice of finning was our main target. We had to stop shark finning. This should not be allowed on this planet. This was atrocious. And so that became our mission with Shark Water. And if you could advance the slide, you'll see a little teaser for that movie.
You're underwater and you see the thing that you were taught your whole life to fear, and it doesn't want to hurt you, and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And your whole world changes. The one animal that we fear the most is the one we can't live without.
Nature created them for a reason. Now human beings just, they don't care.
There's no campaign like a Greenpeace campaign to save the sharks.
They're the scourge of the ocean, and everyone should go and catch one.
Future generations are going to think of us as barbarians.
I needed to know why people were killing sharks and what I could do to stop it. So I embarked on a journey that would change my life forever.
We're not stopping.
So we made this shark movie and thought we were going to change the world. And it kind of worked in a way. You know, government policy started changing. People started fighting for sharks. The shark fin issue became an issue around the world. But we still had to get the movie out in China, where the most shark fin soup is consumed. So it took us 2 or 3 years, but we finally managed to get it released in China. We had some celebrities involved. It was supposed to be the biggest highlight of my life. But at the movie premiere, right after we showed the film, a woman in the audience, a young lady, puts up her hand and says, "Why stop us from eating shark fin soup? According to the United Nations, all the fish are going to be gone by 2048 anyways." And to me, this was a devastating blow, an issue we didn't even begin to address in shark water. And what was the point of saving sharks if the bigger problem exists and we were going to wipe out everything anyways? And so I started trying to investigate and to figure out what exactly was going on. And as I unraveled the thread, a very, very grim picture was painted for me. It wasn't just sharks we were wiping out. It wasn't just fish we were wiping out. It was our whole life support system. So the reason why we can survive on this planet is because life gives us our food, our water, and our air. It's phytoplankton in the ocean that gives us most of the oxygen in the air that we breathe. We're here because of life. But that life we've been systematically destroyed. 75% of the forests are gone. 90% of the big fish are gone. 40% of our greatest oxygen producer, phytoplankton, is gone. Half of the topsoil has eroded into the ocean. There are 400 dead zones in the oceans, areas with no oxygen and no life. So to me, I've realized, the issue wasn't sharks anymore. The issue is saving humans. What do we need to do to save the ecosystems we depend on for survival? Because it really didn't matter if we saved sharks if we wiped out everything else anyway. And so I ended up on this kind of an incredible journey that made me understand these issues were far, far bigger than I thought they were. But when I was in the depths of despair in this whole issue, I got a phone call from a grade 6 class on the island of Saipan in Micronesia. And the teacher told me, she said, "I showed my class your movie, Sharkwater. They're pissed, and they want to do something." And she said, "They're going to try to change the world." So I sent them some copies of Sharkwater and told them I'd do anything I could to help them. And a month later, they called me. And if you can advance the slide, this is a little video that shows how a grade 6 class changed the world just because they didn't know they couldn't do it.
My name's Kathy Pagapler, and I am a teacher at San Vicente Elementary School here in Saipan. I showed them your documentary, and it moved them, and they got really interested, and that's how it all started.
A film that explores the beautiful ocean and the magnificent creatures.
what we wanted to do was brainstorm ideas on what to do after this. And then they wrote a letter. They wanted the governor to hear their voices.
Dear Governor Fitzgerald, I am a 6th grade student of San Vicente Elementary School. I am writing this letter because the sharks are almost extinct. I hope you sign a bill to ban shark finning.
I think those sixth graders should be, recognized and acknowledged, for their concern.
It makes you feel so good because we're so young, but we accomplished a lot of things, big things.
I don't think we've done this before, and it's a huge step.
We were witnesses to history today.
Maybe the world might not end because of what we're doing, and you're adults that caused this problem, but you should do something about it because look at us, we're kids, and we're actually trying to save stuff while you guys do something else. And worry about yourselves instead of other people.
It's like a domino effect. If you do something good, it'll continue to, expand.
Saipan is now officially the second place in the world to entirely ban shark fins. A 6th grade class pushed it with everything they could. The world will never be the same because of this.
Make your own groups. Start protests and then make a riot.
That class in Micronesia pulled me out of the depths of despair in this and taught me two really, really important issues, I think, that we should understand if we're going to change the world. The first is the power of information. We are humans and our humanity binds us. We have morals. We feel good about some things and bad about others. And as long as we're ignorant of an issue, our morals and our humanity don't engage. We'll continue to consume stuff that's destructive or engage in patterns of behavior that may destroy life on Earth. It's information that changes the world. And as long as we can get that out there, then we give people the power to engage our humanity and guide us to a world that works. And the second thing that was really important to me in this was the power of our imagination. In the face of a giant catastrophe like we're looking at, potentially the fall of mankind, we got to change the argument. If you look at the government policy Obama put in place a couple weeks ago that everyone's touting as the greatest environmental policy in history, it's so amazing, it's awesome. I don't think kids are looking at that as a world they'd like to fight for. Obama's policy cut coal emissions by 30%, which is actually a 7% reduction in emissions in America by the year 2030. And kids that are looking at a world where potentially they might not be able to survive, prolonging our life on this planet by 7% is a very, very small thing. I think instead of fighting against industry and fighting against overfishing and pollution and overpopulation and coal companies and industry, we need to come together as humanity and imagine what kind of a world would we like to fight for? What if we designed Earth to be beautiful for us and all species? What if instead of having fish shipped from Chile and from British Columbia, what if we could go to Lake Ontario and fish? What if pollution was illegal? We shouldn't be negotiating over what quantity of toxic pollutant corporations are allowed to put into your food, water, air, and eventually bodies. That's ridiculous. I think imagination is going to be our power to change the world. If we can imagine growing food on our roofs and making our population sustainable and having wildlife everywhere, I think that's a vision of a future that's powerful enough for kids to dedicate their lives to it. And so in that vein, we spent 4 years traveling to 15 countries to make our new film, Revolution. And if you advance the slide, there's a little trailer for that next.
I set out to make a film to save sharks. And I'm in way over my head. We have a decision to make, and we don't have much time. This is no longer just about saving the oceans. It's about saving ourselves.
The whole landscape of ocean issues has changed. We are going to lose everything in our oceans. The oceans have the potential to go belly up in the next 20 years.
The last time the oceans went down was 65 million years ago, and it took almost all life on Earth with it.
What the oceans do, the terrestrial world will follow.
Human life may not be possible.
These are criminal enterprises. They're corrupting our public officials and subverting American democracy.
People are in a sense of denial.
You can't expect the state and government to educate you.
They know exactly the solutions to all of these problems, but they're not doing it.
Time is running out. It's not about negotiating. It's about trying to survive.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
It's about life.
There's nothing more important than conservation, because conservation is the preservation of human life on Earth.
If we're gonna survive, we've got to go back to the beginning, 3.5 billion years ago.
We can change something if we work together worldwide. So let's do it.
Please. I learned making revolution that we have an enormous opportunity ahead of us. In the face of the greatest challenge we've ever run into, there's an opportunity for kids, for everyone, to become heroes, ecosystems and species. For the first time in history, we have all the tools to solve this problem. We've got billions of people connected on the internet. There's more than 1 million conservation groups and charities around the world that are working for good. That's a force larger than has ever been assembled in the history of the planet. 1 million groups working independently, fighting for a brighter world. The process of making revolution taught me something amazing. And I think that is that this is our task. This is the task of our generation. We've got to step it up and learn what it is to be a sustainable human, to live in a way that doesn't destroy our life support systems and destroy future generations. And in that way, we've endeavored to create toolkits to try to show people how to change the world. I believe tackling this problem is going to call the best in humanity to the height of their potential. Kids are going to have a great time because they know what they need to do when they wake up in the morning. They fight for a brighter world. They become heroes, and they change the world, making it a better place for us, for future generations, and for other species. I've got one last little video that I'm going to show you that is of a campaign we did to ban shark fins in Toronto. It's called Fin Free. And it's a toolkit that any conservation group, any individual can use in an open source kind of way to get bans on shark fins. And this is one little kid, Luke. He's 7 years old, and this is how he found power and meaning in his life, looking for a brighter future. So please advance the slide.
My name is Luke.
Thank you, Luke. Please go ahead.
My name is Luke, and I am 7 years old, and I love sharks. I love the way they swim, I love the way they hunt for food, and I love the way they reach into the air. Did you know 100 million sharks are killed every year? Sharks are important because they are part of our ecosystem, and 70% of our oxygen comes from the oceans where they live. If we kill the sharks, it upsets the balance of life in our oceans. Last time I was here, I heard people say that one city can't make a difference. Well, I am just one boy, and look what I have done. I have taught my friends and family about sharks. I got over 1,000 signatures on a petition to ban shark fins. And here I am today, speaking to all of you. I am just one 7-year-old boy. And look what I have done. Now it's your turn. Imagine what you could do. Help me save the sharks. Help me save the oceans. Help me save my future. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. That was amazing. And thank you for your great work in getting that petition circulated with 1,000 names. That's fantastic. Thank you, Luke. You have a few questions. The first one is Councillor Debra.
So that is what I have to say. We have an enormous opportunity here. Everyone has a great deal of power to change the world. Once we know what's going on, and we can envision the kind of world we want to fight for. So I'm really honored to have had this time. I'm sorry I took longer, and I hope you guys all get involved in making the world a better place for yourselves, for your kids, and for the future. Thank you.
Hey, Rob. Thanks very much. Can you see me?
Yep.
Where's Gene? Gene, I'd like a picture. Here we go.
This is a
Rob,
first.
Rob and I.
Hey, Moses and Rob.
Hey.
Hey, Rob.